Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to online lecture series for Computer Organization and Architecture course KCS 302 at Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. Myself Dr. Inderjit Kaur, Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In this lecture, we will be starting the fourth unit, that is the memory basic concepts, and then we will be moving on to the different types of memory, cache memory, virtual memory and their related algorithms and secondary memory, etc. We started with the difference between computer organization and computer architecture. Then we moved on to the bus architecture, how the bus transfer and register transfer takes place. Then we discussed the addressing modes, different types of number representation, fixed point numbers and floating point numbers. Then the different arithmetic operations that can be performed on these fixed point and floating point numbers. Then we discussed about the control unit, the two types of control unit, that is the hardwired control unit and microprogrammed control unit, and then RISC and CISC architecture. Then we started how this CPU is communicating with our memory and how it is how the different components of memory, they are interconnected with each other. So, in this we will be starting with the main memory. We will be discussing the basic concepts, semiconductor RAM and ROM memories, the internal structure of the memory, 2D and 2.5D memory organization will be discussed, flashed memory, and we will be discussing about the memory hierarchy. Starting with the memory unit, as we all know, we have to store the programs, that is program is our set of instructions and data into our main memory. Whenever a program that wants to get executed, it is mandatory for that program ki it should reside in main memory, from where that it is loaded, and then all the instructions in residing in that program, they are fetched, they are decoded and they are executed in a sequential manner. So, we can say that the memory unit, it is an essential component in any general purpose computer, since it is required to store the programs and data. All the programs and data, they both are being stored into our main memory. If there is a space, the contents, they will be stored into the main memory. If there is no space, then we have to store them into our secondary memory, that we will discuss later on. And the second thing, the most important thing, this memory unit, it communicates directly with our CPU. It is directly connected with it. So, the devices that we require to keep our backup storage, they are known as auxiliary memory, or sometimes they are known as secondary memory. Auxiliary memory, they are used to store the system programs, we can say, or we can say ki the large data files, or if we want to store suppose other backup information. The only programs and data that are currently required by the processor, they should reside in main memory, because we have said that every program that has to get executed, it should reside into the main memory. All other information that is stored in main memory, and it can be transferred again to main memory whenever it is required. That occurs in the form of page replacement algorithm that we will discuss in the next lecture series. Then starting from the basic concepts, the maximum size of a memory. What should be the minimum size of the memory? What should how should I choose the maximum size of the memory? So, the maximum size of the memory, it depends upon the addressing scheme. So, if I am taking a 16-bit computer, that 16-bit computer, it will generate the 16-bit addresses, and these addresses, they will vary up to 2 ki power 16. The number of bits that are being given into the address bit, we have to take the 2's power, and this will tell us the total number of locations in our memory. Suppose in this case, we have taken the 16-bit, so our total number of locations will be 0 to, suppose we are taking from 0, so they will be having 0 to 2 power 16 minus 1, like this. At this we can store one instruction, or one instruction it can be stored in 2 addresses. So, likewise in some area is fixed for storing the instructions and some area is fixed for storing our data. So, most modern computers, they are byte addressable, means the 8 bits can come in this one location. The memory is designed to store and retrieve the data in word length quantities. If we have to define this word length of a computer, it is defined as the number of bits stored and retrieved in one memory operation. As I said, here I am storing suppose the instructions and here I am storing suppose the data. It might be the case that the number of bits in my address bit, they can be 16 and they can be different from the bits that I am storing in the data. In the data there can be 24, there can be 16, there can be 32, and in the address part it will be different. The basic components, how this interconnection between processor and memory is taking place. This is our processor that is having MAR, that generates the memory address register. So, this generates, suppose it is of k bits. So, it will generate k bit address bus. So, we have to refer to that location in our main memory. Here we are saying that in this main memory we are having to power k addresses location if there are k bits in our MAR, that is 0 to 2 power k minus 1, and suppose at this MDR is of n bits. MDR stands for memory data register. So, suppose it is bidirectional because I can perform read and write operation both on my memory. So, this is having suppose n bit data bus. This means at every location I can store n number of bits at every location. Either it is my data, either it is my program. This refers to my control lines. They are also bidirectional that are performing a read operation, write operation, WMFC. So, this data transfer between a processor and memory, it involves 2 registers, MAR and MDR. If the address bus it is of k bits, then we will say the length of MAR is k bit, and if the word length it is of n bit, then we will say that the length of MDR is n bits. These control lines, they include the read line and write lines. For the read operation or write, for this read operation the value becomes 1, and for the write operation the value of this register becomes 0. How to measure the speed of the memory? The elapsed time between the initiation of any operation and the completion of that operation, that is known as the memory access time. That is very much important when we will be going to study the operating system concepts. Everything is depending upon how much access time is required. Then the minimum time between the initiation of 2 successive memory operations, that is known as memory cycle time. Again, that is also very much important. So, in general, if I say faster a memory system, I will say it is costlier, and smaller it will be. Then comes the important design issue, that is to provide a computer system with as large as and a fast memory suppose I require within a given task. So, there are several techniques to increase the effective size and speed of my memory. That is, suppose I want to increase in case of cache memory, then I have to increase the effective speed. If I am talking about virtual memory, then I am talking about to increase the effective size. Then comes the next semiconductor RAM memories, RAM. RAM stands for random access memory. It is a memory unit where any location can be addressed in a fixed amount of time independent of where it is residing, that is independent upon the location address. Then the internal organization of memory chips, it depends upon each memory cell that can hold one bit of information, and the memory cells, they are organized in the form of an array, in which I will say one row means one memory word, and all the cells of the row, they are connected to a common line, and that is known as word line. Here the word line that is connected to the address decoder, and the sense and write circuits, they are connected to the data input and output of my memory chip, as it is shown here. Here we can see we are using the address decoder. Suppose it is generating 4, so it will be generating 16 outputs. So these 16 outputs, they are connected with sense and write circuits, and they are generating the output, and these are defined as our memory cells. This FF stands for flip flop, and here we are giving them the read write and the control signals. That is, if I say ki semiconductor memories, they are available in the wide range of speeds, and their cycle time, it ranges from 100 nanosecond to less than nanosecond, because I have to decrease this time. Now, if I discuss about the internal organization of memory chips, that comes like that. The memory cells, they are usually organized in the form of an array, in which I will say ki each cell, it is capable of storing one bit of information, and then each row of cells, it constitutes a memory word, and all the cells of the row, they are connected to a common line, as we have seen, and it is known as word line. That is again derived by the address decoder on the chip, that W1 to W0 to W15 that we were deriving. Then the cells in the each column, they are connected to the sense and write circuit by the 2-bit lines, as we have seen in the previous slide. Then the sense and write circuits, they are connected to data input and output lines of the chip, and suppose I am performing a read operation, then these circuits sense or read the information stored in the cells, they are selected by a word line, and it transmits this information to the output data lines. And suppose I am performing a write operation, then in that case this sense and write circuits, it receives the input information and it stores them into the cells of the selected word. Then this is again, as we have seen this diagram in the previous slides, it is referred to as storing a 16 cross 8 organization. 16 cross 8 is our array. The data input and the data output of each sense and write circuits, they are connected to the single bidirectional data line, and it can be connected to the data bus of the computer. Then we are using the two control lines. These two control lines, read and write, one and the second CS, control signals, they are providing in addition to the address and data lines. So these they specifies the required operation that has to be done, and this CS, that is chip select, this input selects a given chip in a multi-chip memory system. Which chip has to be selected will be told by this CS. Which operation has to be performed, read or write, that has to be told by this R or W. So if I classify my semiconductor RAM, it comes out to be performing read and write memory. Then I will say it is a random access or non-random access, means RAM or ROM. Then this is non-volatile read or write memory, or it is a read only memory. So if I say them as a random access, they can be classified as SRAM and DRAM, and if they are having non-random access, then I will be having like FIFO or last in first out manner, or I will be shifting them. So that is shift register. CAM means content addressable memory. I have to search the registers or search my contents as per my content. Then if it is following the non-volatile operation behavior, then I can categorize it EPROM or E2PROM or such as flash memory. And if it is categorized such as ROM, that is read only memory, then it is known as mask programmed programmable, that is PROM. Then the semiconductor RAM, if I start only for RAM, then I will say the random write and read operation for any cell I am performing. It is having volatile access to my data. Most of the memory, it is RAM. Then it can have DRAM or it can have SRAM. If DRAM, then it has low cost, high density or medium speed, and if it is SRAM, then it has high speed, ease of use or medium cost. Then if it is SRAM, SRAM stands for static RAM, that is, it is consisting of circuits that are capable of retaining their states as long as the power is applied, and because it is volatile in nature, so their contents, they are lost when our power is interrupted. That is the reason we save our program not in RAM into our other locations, into our secondary storage devices, so that we can see them later on. So the access time of static RAMs are in the range of few nanoseconds and the cost is too high. And moving on to the dynamic RAM, this is, they do not retain their state indefinitely, their contents, they must be periodically refreshed, and the contents, they must be refreshed while accessing them for reading. Then if I say semiconductor ROM, that means this ROM has non-volatile behavior, so it will be storing non-volatile data. This is used for having the method of data writing. Then I categorize it either mask ROM, that is the data written during chip fabrication, it cannot be changed, or it can have the PROM manner. PROM means either it can be fuse ROM, that is non-rewritable, either it can have EPROM, that is erase data by UV rays, either it can have EEPROM, that is erase and write through electrical means. If I opt for EEPROM, that means I am speeding 2 to 3 times slower than RAM, and the upper limit, there is a upper limit on performing the write operations. And if I discuss about flash memory, then it is of high density and low cost. Then move on to the internal structure of memory. The internal structure of memory, if I opt either RAM or ROM, means if I am discussing the main memory, then I can categorize my main memory as RAM or ROM. So it is made up of memory cells that contain a memory bit, and the group of 8 bits, they makes a byte. It is known to everybody. So the memory, it is formed in a multi-dimensional array forms consisting of rows and columns. So in which each cell is storing a bit, and a complete row, it is consisting of a word, and we are saying ki word is having 8. A memory simply can be divided into this form. Suppose it is having n bits, so 2 power n, that suppose I am taking it as capital N. So here small n, suppose it is the number of address lines, and capital N, it is the total memory in our bytes. So the total, there will be 2 की power n number of words in my memory. Then what is 2D and what is 2.5D? Starting from the 2D organization, in this 2D organization, my memory, it is divided into the form of rows and columns, that I can represent them in the form of matrix. The each row, it contains a word. Now in this memory organization, there is a decoder also. This decoder, it is a combinational circuit that contains n input lines and 2 की power n output lines. We know the functioning of decoder now. So one of the output lines will be selected the row which address is contained in our memory address register, and the word which is represented by that row, that will get selected, and either we will be performing the read operation or the write operation through the data lines on that selected MAR. So if I represent my 2D, it comes out to be like this. This is my decoder. These are the address line for my row selection from MAR. The selected address among these 3:8 decoder has been chosen. The selected address will be read from that location, from that word line, the whole word will be read, or we will be performing the write operation. Then 2.5D. In 2.5D organization, the scenario is the same, but we have to use two different decoders. One is my column decoder and another is my row decoder. This column decoder, it is used to select the column, and row decoder, it is used to select the row. The address from the MAR, it will go into the decoder's input. This decoder will select the respective cell through which the bit outline I have to go, and the data from that location will be read, or through the bit in the line data, it will perform write operation on that corresponding memory location, particular cell I am talking here. So, this is my decoder for row selection, this is my decoder for column selection. Accordingly, I will be selecting a particular cell. There will be 2 to the power n number of columns and there will be 2 to the power n number of rows. So, particular location I will be selecting and I will be performing either read or write operation that I have to perform. So, if I compare this 2D and 2.5D, it comes out to be in 2D organization my hardware is fixed as I have seen, but in this 2.5D my hardware changes. In the 2D organization it requires more number of gates, but 2.5D it requires less number of gates. 2D it is more complex than 2.5D. Then error correction, it is not possible in 2D, but it is error correction, it becomes easy when I am opting for 2.5D. Then 2D is more difficult to fabricate also in comparison to my 2.5D organization. Then this is my main memory that I have seen very common. This is the memory unit that directly communicates with my CPU, and where I am storing my program and data that are currently being used, and I say it as a primary memory. And I said ki I can categorize my main memory into two parts, one is my RAM and another is my ROM. And we all know that the RAM is volatile, it stores the information required during processing, and there are two types of RAM, one is my static RAM, another is my dynamic RAM. So, static RAM and dynamic RAM, they all are volatile, they are we lose the contents when my power is turned off, and sometimes there are many applications where if we require ki suppose my system is turned on, the operating system must be loaded from the disk into the memory. Then I require to store the instruction which would load the operating system from the disk. So, I need to store these instructions that will not be lost after the power is turned off. We need to store the instruction in a volatile memory. These all are the areas where I require ROM, where I require my contents after my power is off. So, in that case I have to moving on to the non-volatile memory, that is read in the same manner as I do the read operation in my volatile. There is a separate writing process I require to place my information in this memory, and the normal operation that involves for reading the data, and it is known as my ROM. I can say this ROM is my permanent memory and it stores the information required for computer operations and different types. They can be PROM, EPROM and EEPROM, as we will discuss them. Starting from EPROM, that is the stored data has to be erased or new data is to be loaded. It is very flexible, erasable, reprogrammable ROM I can say, and it the erase operation, it requires exposing the ROM into UV light. Then next is EEPROM, that is to erase the contents of EPROM to expose them into UV light, physically remove from the circuit, and the contents they can be stored and erased electrically in this case. Then most important thing, what is bootstrap loader? That is when I switch on my system, how does when OS comes into the picture, how my Windows gets started. The initial program whose function is to start the computer operating system after my power is turned on, and it is stored in the ROM portion of main memory, and that portion gets loaded, and then it tells me, it directs me to the next location. Then it asks कि C drive में है या D drive में है, where my OS is, it gets start. So the computer startup, that is starting the execution of initial program after my computer is turned on. I will say bootstrap loader, it loads the portion of the disk to the main memory, and then the control is given to the OS. In this manner I get OS loaded into my system. Then there are different types of memory. I can categorize them as a sequential access memory and random access memory. Sequential access, this is a class of data storage device that read their data in sequence, and it is a form of computer data storage. Then sequential access memory, they are usually a form of magnetic memory, and RAM is, it always stored the data to be accessed in any order. Then the typically used for secondary storage devices, and their examples are hard disk, CD-ROM, magnetic disk, and it is having the volatile nature, and the types we have discussed, SRAM and DRAM already. Then moving on to the next type of memory, secondary memory, or we can also say it as a auxiliary memory. The most common auxiliary device that are used in computer, they are magnetic disk or magnetic tape for storing the large amount of data in a permanent fashion, and we can also say that they are portable. Either we use magnetic disk or we use magnetic tape. If I am talking about magnetic disk, it looks like this. It is a circular plate made up of a metal or plastic coated with magnetized material, and it has high speed of rotation. Bits are stored in a concentric circles, they are known as tracks, and these tracks, they are further divided into sectors. Then the second device, magnetic tape. This is the side view of my magnetic tape. This is my edge view of magnetic tape. Earlier we were using them. It stores the data in a sequential manner, that is sequential access memory used for storing backup audio or video data, and it is very reliable, and it opts for it is very much slower for performing the read and write operation. Then moving on to the flash memory. Flash memory, it has the same approach that our EEPROM follows, and it reads the contents of a single cell, but it writes the contents of an entire block of cells. This is the basic difference. Then the flash devices, they have greater density, that is higher the capacity and lower is the storage cost. Then the power consumption of flash memory, it is very low, making it very attractive for the use in our equipment, that is battery driven, and single flash chips, they are not sufficiently large, so larger memory modules, they are implemented using flash cards or flash drives very commonly in our systems. Then now we have discussed the different types of memory. We have to form the memory hierarchy now. So to obtain the highest possible access speed while minimizing the total cost of our memory system, we will consisting of all the storage devices in a computer system, either it is auxiliary, either it is cache, either it is main memory, either it is high speed registers, or we are opting for program processing logic. So registers, they are the fastest device, then comes into the picture the cache memory, then main memory, then our secondary storage devices starting from disk, tape and so on. This is the size, they are very small, and then size becomes very big when we are moving from registers to tape. Then they are accessed very frequently. Registers, very fast devices. Cache, they are fast. Main memory, they are the slowest devices. Their speed is also more. So we can see from this arrow. The then the cost is also high in case of registers. Then if we talk about the storage capacity, then it is very less. Registers can store 8 bit or 16 bit, flip flops they can store only 1 bit. Then the access time also becomes very less in case of registers, and they take very large access time because they are slow devices. So, this diagram also represents how if we want speed, then we will be moving on to our starting from tape drives, then to hard disks, then to RAM, cache, and then to registers. And if we have to take care of the cost, then we will be moving in this fashion. So, in the in between somewhere we will make a trade off. So, this was the recap. We have discussed all these things in the lecture. First is the RAM, that stands for random access memory, ROM, read only memory, PROM, programmable ROM, that is that can be bench programmed, erasable PROM, that can be erased for rewriting, electrically EPROM, that can be erased electrically as the name suggests. Then the types of RAM, static RAM that loses the contents upon power off, dynamic RAM, DRAM, RAM chips whose contents need to be refreshed, then synchronous DRAM, that RAM, type of RAM whose memory operations they are synchronized with a clock signal. So, this was all about different types of memory, the basic operations. In the next lecture series, we will be discussing how the memory is connected to CPU, the cache memory, the mappings of cache memory and the virtual memory. Thank you.